Good Saturday morning to all of you. This is Tenacious Earl, and I'm going to do another video here, running out Roberto Chiavini's Daring Racers. Hope all of you are doing well. This is the only game from Roberto that I have purchased so far, and at some point I'm sure I will buy another one. My impression of this game is it is a very simple way in order to carry out a Formula One race. I also think you're able to do IndyCar or various other racing forms. I was most interested in this because I am a Formula One fan. I've kind of like gotten out of NASCAR. IndyCar, I don't know, it's a spec series, so Formula One, all the teams, there's 10 teams and they're all independent. Granted, some of them buy their parts from the major manufacturers, but all in all, their chassis and whatnot are developed in-house by and large. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first just go through my spreadsheet a little bit that I've come up with in Excel, which has helped me along. So first off, I will just say that I kind of go back and forth about introducing too much technology. This game would be a relatively straightforward game to automate, and I think others have. I'm pretty sure I saw a video from Ron Juckett at Retro Sports Network doing pretty much an automated version of this game. And so I think, and I've automated History Maker Golf. At least the first 3 rounds of tournament mode, I've done a bunch of automation too, and I kind of like, as I said, go back and forth on this because we're doing, I want to do this as much for the relaxing nature and sort of like the granular form of seeing the results come up and kind of making the decisions and the calculations and stuff in my head. PC really does help in a lot of ways. I am using it to help sort of streamline some of the processes that aren't the actual gameplay. So if I had some interest from some people, I would definitely try and make this available with some instructions at some point. I also had a question on another video about the second season charts. It kind of depends on the game. Some games are a little bit, the charts are a little bit more difficult to package in a way that with instructions, but it's something that I have considered and may consider further doing. Okay, just to go through, we're through 7 races here. This is the 2018 Formula One season, what Chiavini calls a yearbook. So so far Lewis Hamilton is the dominant force, as one would expect in a replay. 4 wins. I am tracking pole positions. I'm obviously tracking finishing positions too. That's about the only stuff off the race sheet that I track. So this is kind of like the base form. Spreadsheets should typically be kind of like a slimmed down database, pretty decent for that. So if you just look at this is just a form or a table. The newer versions of Excel have tables, which helps for generating stuff you could fill down pretty quickly without too much fuss or muss. A lot of us are used to like the Control D and all that kind of Control R to fill down or fill right. There's little drag boxes now you can use that would fill the formula down and stuff. But anyway, so we've got the driver here on the left, the nation he's from, and the team, and then basically all of his yearbook information. There's a this is This is a numerical designation of the race factor, which is a letter in reality, but in order to make things work right, because there are certain aspects of this game, actually just one aspect where that might matter, that you can make an adjustment. I do a numerical form, so I convert them to numbers and use a lookup table. And what is it? That's a Q, so that's a qualifying factor for each driver. There's the W, which is the winning instinct. So that's kind of like the factor at the end of the race, which helps determine ties. So there is that. There's also the accident and the retirement, which are two other factors which come into the game, which get spurred on by doubles rolls within the game. And when you get those, then you do a further roll to see if a driver has an accident or retires. I also have a column for the team, which populates in my sheet, as you'll see here in a minute. The nationality, which I also like to have. And then finally, what I call home, like the home course advantage. And that's where having a numerical form of the racing factor is helpful, because you're allowed to drop each driver one for a home race. And basically, I've given everybody a home race, and I select each driver gets to pick one. Most of them, it's going to be the race that is their home race, but that is denoted by the number. So like 11 is probably, I think that's the German Grand Prix. And so a number of these guys who are German, I also picked that for the Finnish driver, Bottas. Swedish, I mean, it's tough because you could see it now. Nowadays, because we are beginning to have the Dutch Grand Prix, we might want to do like Denmark might be more like Dutch than German as far as like which one you pick. Of course, Denmark, Kevin Magnussen is leaving Formula One in 2021. So at least to this point, he hasn't been signed. But that's the main kind of like nuts and bolts of how this game is played. That's the yearbook right there. I put together a race calendar. Some of this data here, I was just trying to toy around with finding a way to, and I may still do it, finding a way to determine lap times and if a driver has been lapped, things like that. I'm still kind of messing with that. The other thing that I still haven't quite worked out in my own mind, because I think that it's something that probably should be captured, is when you have an accident, usually that bunches the field up. They become, there's a safety car, usually, potentially a red flag. But, and that would be another modification for this game, in theory, is that you could have a 10-sided die roll to determine whether or not you have a virtual safety car, which would pretty much hold all of the positions the way they are, a full safety car, full course caution, which would then bunch it up and kind of like reset it to a certain value, and then kind of like do the same setup that I'll show you here in a minute. And then a red would maybe even be the same thing. And I don't know, the full course caution, you may want to change it even more to not have it quite so bunched, because as you'll see when you do the start of the race, everybody is within kind of like level 0 to level 3, and for a full course caution you may want to make it level 0 up to like level 8, because they do get more strung out. You're kind of like head to tail as you approach the start finish line, not back on the grid like they do for a restart from a red. But so then I have two other parts of this. I have starting position, so I do track that. Here is how the season has gone so far. Surprisingly, only 2 poles for Lewis Hamilton, but Sebastian Vettel has gotten 3 in a row. Raikkonen has gotten the other 2 through 7. So the Ferraris have dominated qualifying, but the Mercedes have dominated the racing, and thus they have quite a lead at the moment, nearly 70 points on Ferrari. Red Bull about almost 60 back, and so I've had 1 win for Max Verstappen, 2 for Vettel, 4 for Hamilton. I'm really having trouble seeing how Daniel Ricciardo wins 2 races in this, because it seems like he's struggling. If I show you the final positions here, Ricciardo has retired 5 of the 7 races, just pure bad luck. But anyway, so this is really all of what I've got there. I've tried to do this. This is my sheet. So they give you a score sheet with Daring Racers. My spreadsheet, if I feed in the race number, it will bring up all this information, but it also sorts all the drivers by their standings in the championship. So that really kind of helps. If you go over here and look, you can see these drivers are all here, and it brings up all their information. It also will do the calculation on the race factor to factor in the home course. So it's pretty nice. And so this is what it's going to look like at the start. And if I come over to this screen, here is what it looks like after I print it out. So I can print it. Fits really nice. And so I'll go through now and do a race, and hopefully within half an hour or so we will have the race in the books. So what you start with is the qualifying. And so each driver has a qualifying factor. It's a number. And you roll a D10. And what I do on this sheet is I actually write it on the left side of the D10 in case there are ties. So Lewis Hamilton will get a 3. So you add that to Q. And so that is 3 plus 3 is 6. And we will just get a move on. 6 and 4 is 10 for Valtteri. Vettel is a 4, so that's going to be a 7. So it looks like Hamilton will likely pick up the pole, but there's still a chance that you could... Well, Raikkonen is still a factor, but here's Verstappen. And it's leaning. I'm going to re-roll. Sometimes this thing gets a little too deep there. So 6 and 7 is 13. Kimi Raikkonen, a 1 or a 0 would get him the... And it's leaning again. That's a 4, so that's an 8. Poor Kimi. Looked like he was going to get that, but he had a lap time deleted. How about if we say that? Science, a 2, so that's 12. Hulkenberg, a 4. On an 11 is 15. 5 is 15. 5 again is 13 for Daniel Ricciardo. So it looks like he's going to start around 5th or 6th here. That's a 7. That's 20 for Fernando Alonso. Another 6. We haven't gotten any 0s or 9s yet. That's a special case that I want to go over. Another 6. So Kevin Magnussen and Sergio Perez with the same Q factor, and they end up with the same roll there. 5, so that's 19. And it's leaning enough that I'm going to re-roll. 8. 20 for Leclerc. Back when he was with Sauber. There's a 1, so a good... I've had a lot of... Marcus Ericsson, who is now in IndyCar, he's had a number of good qualify. Okay, so here we go with Grosjean. So this is an interesting case, which... albeit I'm not sure how realistic this makes it, because, Haas, Ferrari, so they run Ferrari stuff. They would probably not have this opportunity. So when you roll a 0, there's what's called the open-ended procedure. And so a 0 and a 9 are both subject to the open-ended procedure. So now we, or actually it's Grosjean, I'm sorry, not Ericsson. So Grosjean, yeah. Sorry, I'm getting my guys mixed up there. So Grosjean has a chance to actually have a number subtracted. So when you roll a 0, you then re-roll and you subtract the next number. And if it becomes a 0 again, then you subtract 10 from it. Let's see. It's a 7, so he's going to get a 3. He's going to be on pole, which is supremely unrealistic. Knowing him, he may wreck out. But anyway, it looks like he is going to win the pole on a freak day where Haas was exquisitely quick. Maybe what we could think of is maybe rain on qualifying allowed this to happen, and he just got out there at the beginning of practice on a slick tire, got a good time in. Everybody else was slow, and it started raining, and maybe that's the way we can figure it out here. So 22. We still need a 9 to show you the rest, but maybe we won't get it. 25 on a 17 and 8. There's another 5. 21 and 7. We aren't going to get one. 23. So again, we start. So I then take this and I make up the grid based on, you take it from the lowest number is in front. So Grosjean is going to get a pole, surprisingly. Lewis Hamilton will start in second, just outside pole position. We've got 7 and 8, so that'll be Vettel and Raikkonen. Then we've got a 10 for Bottas. He will start 5th. And then we start getting to, well, I think we have 12 here. That will be 6. That'll be Carlos Sainz gets a start near the top of the grid. And now we have ties. So this is where we have to do something else. So we have to re-roll on the ties. So Verstappen and Ricciardo, teammates, are both at 13. There's a 6 for Verstappen. That's going to be really 19, but, and then 1 for Ricciardo. So Ricciardo will get 1 up on Verstappen. He will start 7. Verstappen 8. Then we don't have a 14, so we go to 15, and that's Hülkenberg and Ocon. Hülkenberg is 1, so it looks like unless Ocon gets a 0, it's a 4, so it will be 9 and 10 for Hülkenberg and Esteban Ocon. And now we have, 10 more to go. Let's see. That was 15. 16 is, there's only one 16, so there are 11. That's Marcus Ericsson. Okay, we've got a couple of 17s, so we need to roll for Magnussen. That's a 7. Sergio, a 5. So Sergio will get 12th. Magnussen, 13. Let's see, so 18, 19 right here. Looks like he's the only 19. So Gasly will start 14. A couple 20s. A 7 for Fernando Alonso. A 3 for Charles Leclerc. So it'll be Leclerc before Alonso on the grid. And then everything else is in order. So 17, 18, 19, 20. So that's our starting positions. I will feed that later on into the spreadsheet. So, all right. So now what we need to do is we need to set the grid, and well, we've set the grid. Now what we need to do is get them on the track and ready to go. So the way we do that is everybody gets a race level that they start. And the top 6 get level 0, and so we just start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and 7 through 12 get level 1, 2, 3, 4, Where's 11? 5, 6. Okay. 13 through 18 get 2. And then 3 for 19 and 20. Also, I also want to mention before we get going any further, the open-ended procedure. That is, the other side of that is the 9. We did the 0 where the 0 becomes a subtraction with the next die roll. The 9 becomes an addition, so because you have a D10, a 0 would actually get you a 9 when you re-roll, but anything else keeps rolling. So if you roll a 1, it becomes 10. If you roll a 7, it becomes 16. If you roll another 9, that means you roll another time. So it goes 18 then plus the next roll. So you could end up with some pretty high numbers there, but that's sort of the gaming open-ended procedure. So now we're ready to start the race. Again, already here have factors that have been adjusted for home race for guys like Pierre Gasly at the French Grand Prix here at Circuit Paul Ricard. My database is wrong there. It should be Ricard, not Richard. But so now I don't really want to show the race table. It's really the primary, almost the entire engine of this game. And I want to encourage you to go buy it because the game itself is pretty inexpensive. Roberto, I'm sure, put a lot of time into developing these methods, and get the buy the yearbooks, buy the game from him. I don't want to show the table because I feel like it would be pretty easy to reproduce, and having me talk about it is probably something that could do that as well. But we're going to play this out. So then we roll 2 d6s here for the race. So we're going to do 8 steps, 8 segments of the race, and each segment will be a progression. Each driver will progress based on their race values. So the lower the lower the alphabetic representation, the more that they will move in the positive or in the negative direction, which is actually moving up the grid. The higher, so A, B, C moves towards the front, F, G, H, all the way out to N. Although we don't. This only goes out as far as H, but if you could have as far as N, moves towards the back. So, and then the only real modifiers, and also let's just do one little thing here where we do the weather. We're going to do a D10 roll. If it's 0 to 2, it's an 8, so we don't have to worry about that. I should have done that before I printed this out because that'd be another thing I need to put into my spreadsheet. Is I should be able to put a W for a weather day, and it would adjust everybody's race rating up by 2. So in that case, Hamilton would go from B to D. Actually, no, not the race rating. Scratch that. Accident rating. Double check that. I think it's accident rating. Yeah, the accident rating goes up by 2. So that would be less of a major calculation, but yeah. So the accident rating, the race rating stays the same. So anyway, we're going to roll 2 d6s, and it's a table based on the sum of those. So Lewis Hamilton B will get a 5 to start, and so he will drop 2 levels to -2. Bottas 6 for C he's only going to drop 1. So we should get a pretty good idea here soon of who's going to start out in the lead. B7 for Vettel is going to be a -1. So it looks like Hamilton is going to take the early lead here, probably. Verstappen a C10. That's a poor start for him. He's going to end up going up to level 2. Raikkonen a C9 is going to be no movement at all. So he's going to kind of like hang in the same pack. Sainz, there's a 4. E4 is going to be, he's going to drop 1, but Now we have a potential for an accident or for a retirement. So now we roll the D10. Between the numbers between 0 and 3 have no effect, and we just keep going. 4 through 6, we check Science's accident rating, which is a 1. 7 through 9, we check his retirement, which is retirement's a 3. So let's roll, and it's a 6, so that is going to be an accident check. So now we re-roll 10, D10. If it's 0 or 1, he is going to get in an accident. It's a 3, so no accident, we just keep moving. So he gets the double, which activates that check. And so but he still gets the movement based on the number that the sum that he got there. So 9, F9, he's going to move back 2, so down to 3. Ocon 7, E7 is going to be add 1, so that goes up to 2. And you know, with Formula 1, there's as much excitement for fans usually in following their own driver and seeing like the mid-pack. Like a lot of guys will just root for Mercedes or Ferrari or Red Bull potentially, based on the driver. F6 is going to be 0, so Alonso is going to stay steady there. But you know, the mid-pack is often an interesting thing. So F8 is going to be a 1. So it moves up to 3, and now again we go with a check. And that could be a retirement. This is much more likely to happen with a guy, so he's a 4. Retirement, and it's a 7, so he misses out. They are able to reset the engine mode and correct the problem before they have to shut her down. F8 is going to be a 1, so Perez drops or moves up a level, let's say. F9 is 2. G6 for Leclerc. It's going to be moving up to 3. Ericsson 7 on a G. So that's a 1, so that's 2. So here we get to Grosjean, who was the pole sitter. He has gotten a little bit of a favor here because Hamilton didn't jump out to too much of a lead. He needs to have a low number here to actually have a chance to stay in the top 3, or else he's going to go back right away. Let's see. He has an F rating. F8 is going to be dropping back 1, so he goes back to level 1. So he's going to be behind Raikkonen now, but ahead of a lot of those mid-pack guys, including Verstappen. Van Dorn, G8, so there's another opportunity. He's going to drop 2, but also a potential... Nope, it's going to carry on. No retirement or accident check. Lance Stroll, the Canadian. Now there's 2 Canadians. Now there's another potential for an accident check. He's going to go back to 6. Looks like he might end up in the rear after this. Let's see. No further check. Hartley from New Zealand. Oh boy, 12. I was wrong about that. H12 is going to be 4. He's going to be right back there with Stroll. Let's see what we have to check for him on the double. Nothing. And now Sorokin from Russia, a 5, H5, so he gets a pretty good start altogether. He's just going to move up to 4, and so he comes out kind of at the front of the back markers. So then, as each step goes on, you can assess who's in the lead. So you've got Hamilton clearly in the lead here. You have Bottas, his teammate, Vettel, and Sainz, who gets a good start. They're round out the top 4, and then you get Raikkonen in 5th. And now we'll just keep going here to each step. Hamilton with a B8, which is still going to drop him a level to -3, so still getting on there with it. Now C4 is going to be good for Bottas. That's actually going to bring him really close to Hamilton, and they may be neck and neck for the lead. If you know about F1, you know that there's not a whole lot of good opportunities for passing, but they make it really tough anymore. It's going to change in a couple of years, but right now it's kind of tough. So B6 for Vettel, so he's also going to be, there's going to be a 3-man dogfight at the moment at this -3 level after the second step. Verstappen, 8 and maybe a chance at a retirement here. So he is C8, which is going to be 0. He's going to stay at level 2. Now we got to see retirement or accident. Let's see. G10 as well. So that's 3 for him, up to 5. But now again we check retirement or accident or nothing. Accident check. He is a 0, 1, or 2. Almost got the 1, but fortunately avoids totaling his car. So Grosjean with the F8, he is going to move up 1, and so he is sliding back into a fight with Verstappen right at the moment. And now Stoffel Van Dorn, is he Belgian? I guess he is Belgian. Yeah, so he gets a 6. He hasn't been on the circuit for a couple of years now. He lost his ride with McLaren, and I think he was doing Formula E stuff, which is basically the electric cars. Okay, so potential retirement again, and he is a 1 to 4 or a 0 to 4. And there's a 7, so he avoids that. Stroll now with Racing Point, going to be Alfa Romeo. They're changing their name. His father bought the team from Force India. G11 had 3, but now he's had some good results. They got docked points early in the 2020 season because they had more or less fabricated parts, which probably from pictures that they took of the Mercedes chassis, and they kind of got nailed for that, and or else they would have finished higher in the points. I believe they finished 4th instead of 3rd. Instead, I think it was McLaren that got it. 2nd to Red Bull, 1st to Mercedes. All right, I'm getting sidetracked here. H9 is going to be a 3, so 6 3 is 9. For Brendan Hartley, another guy who is off the Formula One circuit now 5. Okay, so we've got 3 after the second 8th of the race who are vying for that. So you could think of this as maybe they're waiting for a pit window, and depending on how they come out and how they're there's undercut strategies with tires and whatnot. Not going to go into much of that here, but that's sometimes you have to think through and develop your own storylines as far as how certain things happen. But let's go on to step 3, Hamilton. And a B11, so he has a rough third part of the race. He's going to go up 1 to -2, so maybe he might have just the brakes, overcooked the brakes a little bit, got too hard in the corner, and it caused him to lose a little bit of position here. So C7, Bottas is going to get ahead of Hamilton. So Hamilton is dominated pretty much, but now Vettel also has a rough one here, so and a -2. So Bottas now the clear leader. Verstappen with a 10, so we've got these guys getting some higher numbers now. He's going to have a struggle in this section of the race. There's Raikkonen C3. He's going to drop 3, so Raikkonen is going to benefit from this segment of the race quite a bit. He's going to move into 2nd place, it appears. Carlos Sainz, maybe not such a great one here. E10, he's going to go up 2, plus he might have a brush with a problem here. Let's see. Nope, he gets a 0, so keep on moving. Hulkenberg, F5 will be a 0, so he'll stay at 4. And I'm going to fast forward here a little bit through some of the mid-pack. Okay, we got to Fernando Alonso, and he rolls Snake Eyes, which actually drops, pretty much cemented the fact that he would probably be back in Formula One in 2021. It was looking pretty bad because he was losing his seat at Racing Point to Vettel. So, yeah, okay, so Grosjean, who started out at the pole, he is moving back quickly now, and there's a chance here that he might end up out of the race. There is an accident. So he's a 0 through 2, and he misses it just by the narrowest of margins. So he is going to stay in the race, but he has taken a little bit of a drop here now. G6, we'll go to 6. 11 for Stroll. You can kind of see these back markers really picking up the... so that's going to be 3 more. So Stroll and Hartley. And Sorokin, will he be the first retirement? He is an H, and it's a 12, so he's going to drop back to 9. He's had a pretty good for the back markers here, but check here, and it's not going to happen. So after 3, again, we've got Valtteri Bottas, Finnish driver, in the lead with Kimi Räikkönen. Sort of like the second drivers for these 2 top teams in the 2018 season. Out in front, we'll see if that changes here as we get into step 4. And again, I'll probably just get through the top drivers and then fast forward until we hit a back marker. But now Lewis Hamilton with another poor roll. He's had his share of in this race. There's an 8. Valtteri with an 8 on a C. He will also pretty much hold spot. So this opens up for Vettel, who is a B. He could vault ahead. That is a B7, and so that's a -1. So he's just going to get closer. Verstappen a C. C6. He's going to move up 1. Kimi Räikkönen, here's a chance. C5 for Räikkönen. He is going to take the lead. He's going to move to -5. So he's able to eclipse Bottas, uses the DRS to his favor, and is able to get by Bottas. Maybe Bottas used up his tires a little bit too much too in this stint. So there's an E6 for Sainz. And now I'm just going to kind of like move on. Okay, I'll pick it up here at the tail end of step 4 with Grosjean, who was the pole sitter, and he gets, oh boy, here we go with a potential. Now it's an F2, so he's going to drop 2, so he has a chance for a good finish here, except now he's got to avoid this potential check for retirement or accident. And here's another accident check. 4 would mean accident. So a 0 through 2 again, and it's a 2, so he does brush with the wall. He spins it around, and he is going to have to exit the race. So what I do is I take my red highlighter and so that way I know so our first retirement of the race will be from Romain Grosjean, the pole sitter. A surprise pole win for him. Actually, this is accident, but I still mark it as retirement in the database or in the spreadsheet. Okay, Van Dorn, 7 on a G is moves up 1 to 7. Stroll, G7, moves up 1. 13H. 5 for Hartley, moves up 1. Sorokin, H9, he is going to move up 3 to 12. And so, again, it's Räikkönen who is taking advantage of Hamilton having a bit of a slow race here, maybe having to manage his power unit a little bit. Maybe they're experiencing some problems, but let's see. We're going to get to step 5. I'll probably just carry it out from here. Okay, B7, so he's back on the move up. Let's see if other guys will move up quicker. There's C7, also be a -1. So Bottas keeping pace. Vettel, there is a B3, which is going to be, he's going to drop 3, so he has a really good segment of the race. Maybe this is where the pit stop happens, and maybe he's going to overtake his teammate Räikkönen here. 6. C6 is going to be dropping 1 to 1 for Verstappen. There's a 10 for Räikkönen, so that is definitely going to be, he's going to go up to -4, which brings Lewis Hamilton back into a podium position, possibly. Right on the edge of it. He's in 4th place. Sainz, E12. Okay, so Sainz, he was in negative numbers there for a short period. Now we got to check to see if he is out of the race. Potential retirement. He is a 0 to 3. It's a 0, so he will have to retire, and I will use blue for the pure retirement. Maybe I will change my spreadsheet to reflect accidents, because it wouldn't take too much. I keep all the paper sheets. It's one of the things with cards and dice. There are times where using the computer to do all your stuff, everything, all your record keeping, even like a tracker or whatever, it seems a little bit weird. But so now we have 2 retirements here. Science to mechanical issues. Hulkenberg F5 is going to be 0. So he is currently still ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Ocon E7 is 0, so he will stay ahead of both of the Red Bulls, which is kind of a surprise here. 6 for Ricciardo, E6. He maintains his spot, so he's not moving up much at all. 10 for G for Alonso is going to be a 3, so 5. Magnussen F10 is a 2. To 8. Perez 3, so a good segment for him. He's going to drop 1, and he is going to be fighting with Hulkenberg right around 6th or 7th place there right now. F7 is a 1. So Gasly dropping back into the back part of the field here. G5 having a slow day. That's going to remain at 9 for Charles Leclerc. Now at Ferrari, a good segment for Ericsson if he can avoid the wreck. G2, he's going to just drop 1 and move ahead of Leclerc, and maybe be in a battle there with Magnussen. But can he avoid the... Yes, he does. He gets out of any accident possibility there. G7 is going to be a 1, so that's 8. G10 for Stroll, so that's going to be move up 3, 16. Stroll, not a good driver by most people's estimation. He does have a good car now, which helps him a lot. He has come along. I mean, he's come quite a bit, though. He's not as bad as he once was. I mean, back here, he was with Williams, who they've now sold, and I don't even know if they'll keep their Williams name going forward. I think they've decided to, but for the short term, but who knows. So H8, so it moves up to 14. Okay, so we've got 3 steps left, and Vettel's currently poised to win his what would it be? It would be his 3rd race of the season and close some points gap here if he can do that, especially if Hamilton can't get back into the podium. So let's see what Hamilton's role is here. B6, so a good segment here. He's going to go back 2, or forward 2 to -5. So can his teammate keep going with this? C8 is a 0, so they're going to be right against each other. So Hamilton with a good step up here. Vettel B8, he will drop 1, so he is still going to maintain his lead, it appears, unless Raikkonen can have a really good segment. Verstappen with a 3, so finally he gets a good roll. C3, he's going to drop 3 and get into minus figures, -2. Raikkonen with an 8, C8, he will have to maintain at -4. So Hamilton now on a podium position, it appears. Hulkenberg, okay, well, Hulkenberg F4, he will drop 1 to 2, but now he's got to avoid a major disaster, and he does. Okay, I'm going to move. Well, let's do Ocon. He's at 0. How is he going to do here? He is E7. He will 0, so looks like he's going to be high up in the points here. We'll keep going with Danny Ricciardo. E8. He's going to move up 1 to 5. He has not had a good season so far. I'm looking forward to him winning a race, but he has not done anything close to that yet. So the 4 is going to be 0 for Alonso, and now again another potential. So this will be a potential retirement. He is a 0 through 6, and it's a 4, so there is a retirement for the McLaren of Fernando Alonso. And the Spaniard who is returning to Formula One in 2021, he had, I think it was 2 years away. Got out of McLaren. I think he's going to race for Renault now, which is actually now going to become Alpine. It's the same, under the same group. They're just a different. It's just a different brand name under the same umbrella of Renault, but he'll be racing for them. Okay, Magnussen, but he'll be out of the rest of this race. Magnussen F7 is going to be up 1. So that's 9. Perez still, he's of the back guys that started closer to the back. He's the one that is hanging out there the longest, but this is going to be F9, and that's not going to be good. He'll move up to 5, and now I'm going to fast forward through the rest of this. Okay, but so let's see. We did have a couple of retirements as we got down towards the end of this grid. Marcus Ericsson and Brendan Hartley, both they're Sauber and Toro Rosso respectively. So we still have 2 steps left. We still have 15 cars in the field here, still moving. And here is Hamilton trying to get to the lead. Oh boy, this is a great move. If he can avoid an accident or a retirement, he may take the lead on a -4 with Snake Eyes. So now let's see if he can avoid the retirement or the accident. Okay, could be an accident. 0 or 1, he will be out of the race. It's an 8, so he avoids it. So it looks like he may ascend, depending on what happens with Vettel. But we're going to have Bottas first with C5, -2. That's a -7. And now Vettel. What's Vettel going to roll here? 8. B8 is a -1. And Hamilton does cruise out in the lead. Verstappen, who's been making progress here, 8 on a C. Going to be a 0, but again, a potential accident or retirement. Accident. Oh, he is 0 to 2. And it's a 2. He gets into a wreck. And he cannot continue. Red Bull has been full of bad luck in this. Another case of that here in France. Okay, Raikkonen with an 8. C8 is going to be -4, and now again we check for potential problems here. Now retirement would be a 0 to 4, and he avoids that. So not going to have to retire. Hulkenberg, oh boy, F4, good roll there. He's going to go up to 1. It looks like he has a chance to finish in the top 5 here, maybe, depending on how things go. Ocon, 0, but he's got a 10 now. E10 is +2. And maybe an accident, or let's see, accident, yeah, 0 to 2, and he avoids that. Daniel Ricciardo now looking like he could be up there in the top 6 maybe. E6, going to maintain at 5. Man, he'd like to get a good movement here at some point towards the front because he's just not able to get anywhere. F7 is a 1. That's up to 10. Sergio Perez, F11, bad segment for him. He's going to go up to 8, which will allow Ricciardo to move ahead here. And so Gasly, F7, moves up 1. And yeah, I'm just going to speed. Well, I'll just keep going here. We don't have that many at the bottom anymore. A lot of guys have been out from retirement, and we may get another one here with Charles Leclerc. 4, so that's a 0. He's going to maintain at 11, but we got to check 6 accident. What's his accident rating? 0 to 2, and he avoids an accident. Stoffel Van Dorn, who's had a pretty good race, G8, a 2, up to 10. Him and Magnussen duking it out there. Stroll, G6, up 1, up to 20. So if I were to say, I would have to say that probably Leclerc and Up have been lapped most likely, and Stoffel's probably on the last end of the lead lap. It's tough to gauge that sometimes. H6, again, up 1, so 15. Okay, so we're moving to the final stage of the race here. Let's get through it. Let's see Hamilton. If he can get anything, probably 7, we'll say 8 or less, he's got a really good chance of winning this on the sum. And it is a 3. That is a great roll. That's going to be minus 12, and I don't know if anybody's going to beat him. I don't think there's any chance. That's pretty much your race winner. So Bottas, another good segment here, minus 10. The Mercedes may finish in the front two, take the top honors here. Let's see. There's an 11 for Vettel, so a bad segment. Wait, did I? Yeah, that was C3, right, for Bottas? I'm pretty sure that was still C3. So I'll go back and watch the video and make sure at some point here. B11, though, is going to be added 1, so minus 7. Probably still end up on the podium, but as Raikkonen gets an 8, so he'll maintain at minus 4, and nobody else is going to get there. So Lewis Hamilton is going to be your winner here at Circuit Paul Ricard. F. Why did I roll my R? I don't think the French roll. Ricard. F6 is a 0. So 1. Hulkenberg with a good race there. He should move up in the points. His team will be happy. Renault gets a good. He's not in Formula 1 at the moment either. So 8. E8 is going to be plus 1. Daniel Ricciardo, can he finish a race here? And he will. E6. He's going to maintain at 5. Man, the only Red Bull, and he still can't really get anywhere. Magnussen F8 will be 1. Sergio Perez, how's he going to hold up here? 5, a good finish. He's going to maintain at 8. He should end up in the top 6 or 7 here. Ooh boy, Gasly, a 2, F2. He's going to drop 2 to 14. A good last segment if he can keep from botching it. There's a potential accident, 0 to 2, and he avoids it. So he will finish the race at position 14. 5 on a G is going to be 0, so 11. Leclerc, a good. He may get in the top 10 here. 7 for Van Dorn. G7 is add 1. Stroll, G9, going to add 2. He's going to finish dead last, it looks like. Well, aside from the retirements. And then H5, add 1, 16. Okay, so that's that. And now we just have to come up with our final positions. So no ties for the lead. Lewis Hamilton takes his 5th victory of 8 races here. Did I? Yeah, I don't know. I may have. I think I put event 8 at the front. Anyway, so 2nd will be Bottas. Mercedes 1-2. 3 will be Vettel. 4 will be Raikkonen. And we've got Hulkenberg gets 5th place. A good finish there for him. 8 for Perez, a good finish for him, gets a top 10. And now we've got a bunch. We have 3 11s here. So we will roll the D. So this is where the winning instinct comes in. We roll a D10 and we add it to the winning instinct. So 7 for Magnussen on top of 11 is going to be 18. Then we have an 11 for Leclerc. Another 7. That's also 8. No, that's going to be 20. So Magnussen should finish ahead of him. Now we have one more, Stoffel Van Dorn. And there's an 8. So, yeah, so that's going to be 21. So it'll be 9 for Magnussen, 10. Leclerc does get a top 10, gets into the points, and on 11. And then we've got 14, which is going to be Pierre Gasly in 12th. 13th for Sirotkin. 14th for Stroll. And then we'll just fill in these guys here. So that's our race. 2 accidents. Rest retirements due to mechanical failure. And I'm sure if you really wanted to, you could develop your own chart as to the various components. If depending on how you wanted to, in depth you wanted to make it, you could, you know, have failures of the brakes or the engine unit, and which, you know, in theory, you could probably take it as far as having, you know, penalties and things like that for having to replace certain components. So now I'm just going to go ahead and put in my positions for these guys. Hamilton with first. I'm going to say retirement for Hartley. Oh, I know why that happened. Let's just go over here. And that is event 8. Yeah, I did. I put the right event in there. Yeah, this is going to be weird. I've got to, let's see, maybe it won't be so bad if I use my number pad. All right, so Sainz, he retires. Leclerc in 10th. Okay, good. This is going to work. So Ricardo 7, right? That's what we said. Ocon with a 6th place finish. A good is 8th. Stoffel Van Dorn 11 almost gets into the points, and Bottas with 2nd place. So just to then be able to go ahead and show you the standings as updated, Hamilton extends his lead. Bottas and Mercedes extend their lead in the Constructors' Championship as Vettel and Raikkonen finished 3-4. And then you got Renault with the 5th place finish. They are looking like they're going to be the head of the best of the rest. Sainz still out ahead of those guys, though, in his Renault as well. So you've got, the Renault guys right there at the top. And then, but the real surprise right now is Daniel Ricciardo. And now I noticed that I've spelled his name wrong. I'm going to fix it. And I think that everything else should fix correctly. There we go. He has an I in there as well. So I hope this was entertaining. I hope you enjoy this kind of sim. It works pretty well. I'm now through 8 races. I believe it's a 21 race schedule, but it may be less. Let me see. What do we got? 21. The next one would be Austria at the Red Bull Ring, formerly known as the A1 Ring back in the day. So just going to go ahead and punch the holes in my sheet so I can put it in my binder. And it's all ready to go here. So we did have a little bit of a check there with the Winning Instinct. Again, didn't have to do any of the extended open-ended procedure for the 9, but pretty good race. All right, hit the like if you want to see more F1 action here on the channel. Again, they have, I know he's released 2020. I'm in the middle of an 18 replay, but you know, it's there for the taking. It's a shorter season. Not a ton of variety as far as the top constructor, but not that Formula One has a ton of that anyway. This 2018 season is basically Mercedes and Ferrari duking it out, although it hasn't been nearly that interesting, but maybe we will see that pick up as the season moves along. But anyway, all right, hang in there. Hit, as I said, hit the like. I'll put a couple more of these on, if so. And see you soon here on Tabletop Baseball Plus. Thanks a lot for tuning in.